All right, we'll begin our discussions. Now, the relationship between the executive and the National Assembly has deteriorated to the point the National Assembly now holds closed-door sessions away from the prying eyes of the media to discuss the state of the nation. Incidentally, the President of the Senate had publicly warned of an imminent plot to frame him over a robbery incident before the latest face-off with the police. This latest incident happened as the ruling party faces internal bickering within the All Progressives Congress. What is happening to Nigeria's political space? Now, Eze Luchie is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst. He'll be joining us to discuss this. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And now we know that the Senate President is the number 3 most important person in the nation. Now, with all these allegations, is there a cause for concern? Is there a cause for alarm for Nigerians?
Certainly, there's a cause for concern and alarm, because, like you rightly pointed out, the Senate President in the hierarchy of proceedings in this country is number 3. So, if the police could present such a shabby process against a person of that caliber, we should all be worried about the trickle-down effects. What will the commissioners of police be doing in their states? What will be the local DPOs be doing in their areas? Because you brought your best. What the police presented, because they were proud enough to invite the media to witness the sham of confessional statements against the person of the Senate President. My worry was not even because of him. My worry was, what has the DPOs, what has the, down the line, what has the police been doing? The people they've been parading, what has been the quality of the investigations? Because I believe what they presented, what they thought they were presenting was the height of their intelligence. But we could even observe that the so-called armed robber was under duress. He was under pain. And as he was even talking to the media, he kept on glancing back to whoever, and you could witness this palpable fear in his face. That, am I saying the right thing, sir? Am I doing what you said I should do? So it presents a very horror picture that this is the process. This is what the police felt they could show the international community. And we noticed it was bordering on stupidity. Because you said this man was accusing the Senate President of being part of this robbery. And he was saying clearly that all I did was, I am a political associate of his. I've been doing some political thuggery work for him. And you were trying to force him to link the Senate President with armed robbery. Now, what they didn't realize in their stupidity was that on the day the election of Mr. Senate President took place, was the same day that the election of Mr. President took place. And if you understand the way political issues work in this country, if this so-called armed robber, who you're showing on the screens now, served as a political thug for the APC, Mr. Senate President for the senatorial elections, he also worked for Mr. President. So if your whole story is that this man worked as a political thug for the Senate President, he also worked for Mr. President. Why did you not invite Mr. President, for goodness sake?
Mr. I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's very annoying.
It's the sort of stuff you probably will see in the movies. It's never been better scripted. You have this sort of thing happen over and over again. But before I continue with you, I would also like to introduce our guest in Port Harcourt. Okay. Victoria Okpara is a legal practitioner. Victoria Okpara, thank you very much for joining the discussion too. We will also be speaking with you on this topic, and I get your perspectives also too shortly.
Thank you, and good morning for having me.
Great.
I think the period we are today in Nigeria is worrisome, it's challenging, and every Nigerian should be worried and concerned and vigilant. We are supposed to be in a democracy, not dictatorship, not military government or governance. You know, just like my colleague in the studio there with you has said, it is obvious, it's absurd, it's ridiculous, it's everything preposterous to link the third citizen of this nation to robbery. But even reading the statements of the purported robbers, there's no linkage between them in terms of the action and their relationship with the Senate president, it's obvious that all politicians, including our president, has their voice. It's the thing appears to me like guilt by association, because the Senate president knows or has a relationship, they have worked for him, which all politicians do have their voice. Like as I said, the president. That does not necessarily mean it's an insult, and the whole world will be laughing and looking at Nigeria the way we are really, really degenerating. Like as I said, we all must be vigilant. We must defend this country. We must defend this democracy. And we must call people to order. Just like the guy, my colleague also said, if that can happen to the Senate, Dr. Saraki, you can imagine what the ordinary Nigerians are going through. It smacks of, we all know the crisis, the challenge between the Senate and the the Inspector General of Police. It's like a vendetta. I'm getting my pound of flesh, but it doesn't augur well for this nation. It doesn't augur well for this democracy. Nigerians must be very vigilant, watchful, and do everything to defend this democracy, because it can happen to any person. The fact that I bought a car for my brother, my acquaintance, or whatever, and he does whatever he did or he does with that car, does not necessarily mean I'm guilty of whatever the person did. It's like what Nigerian police, what they do at times, you commit an offense and they come to the house, they don't get you, they see your child or children or your wife or your husband and they pick. That is what most Nigerians go through. But I thank God that also those at the top of the cadre are also getting a little bit of what we are going through in this nation. So we have to be very concerned, and we have to be very, 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 very vigilant.
Victoria, we're going to place you on a pause for now. We've heard your opening remarks on this topic. Let's come back to our Lagos studios, where Eze Eluchie is still with us in the studio. Now, yesterday we're talking about the involvement of some past governors in some alleged corruption cases. And with our guest, we talked about the process or the way the EFCC and other, and ICPC and other Economic Financial Commission go about it. They go about it arrest-led investigation instead of investigation-led arrest. Now, in this case, do you think that they should have gone directly to the Senate President, to the National Assembly, before making this public?
Certainly. I mean, they have access to the Senate President. They have access to, they have all the powers to investigate. But then I think, like the lady in Port Harcourt said, there has been existing schisms between the office of the Senate President, between the Senate, not even the office of the Senate President, between the Senate and between the National Assembly and the person of the IGP. Not even the institution of the police, but the person of the IGP. So maybe they had issues and they felt that they couldn't, first of all, go to him and ask questions. But they should have done that before coming to the public to disgrace Nigeria. Because we've never had a worse disgraceful incident against the Federal Republic than when you brandish, you tortured suspects.
But would you call this a disgrace? Is anyone above the law?
No, nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. But when you show sham, when you show what is an obvious scam, which is a deliberate concussion to implicate people as what the police best, because what the PPRO of the police force represents is the best of the intelligence of the police. And you're showing to the whole world that your best is a scam.
Help us understand,
it's very, very worrisome.
Because you're a legal practitioner, help us understand this culture we've had and imbibed over the years, where you will have suspects, crime appear before the media and make confessional statements rather than do this in the court. I mean, we've been in a running battle with the police about how they go about this. What exactly has happened? I mean, I thought that there were certain procedures and rules, especially when making confessional statements. What happened?
You're very right. In fact, if what they showed on TV is how you jail people in this country, we should open the jailhouses for all of them to walk out. Everybody in jail in Nigeria who went through this scam process should be released. The reason is this. When you bring suspects who are presumed innocent until proven guilty, You bring them, you show them off on the public newspapers, you bring them before the media, and the media are barraging them with questions, and they're confessing. I mean, under duress, obviously. I mean, and we know what goes on in the police stations. Extreme torture practices are adapted because our police basically have no intelligence to work on. I mean, the most they do is to scroll down your phones. They have no manpower to even undertake intelligence activities. So they rely more on torture. And we witnessed it with the so-called armed robbers who were paraded. They were underpaying, and the guy kept on looking behind his back to know if after this media briefing, what will I go through when I get back to the cell? So if you have that kind of picture, and this is at the national level, what you should be worried about is what happens at the local police stations. There are reported incidents of people being shot and killed in cells who maybe they didn't agree with what they were being asked to claim to have done, and then they get shot. So it displayed the worst of the Nigerian police force, and there should be consequences for this action. The consequences, like the Senate has really said at the National Assembly, passed by the resolution, is that the person of the IGP who has repeatedly insulted the institution of democracy in this country should be sacked. He should be sacked. And along with him, repeatedly we've noticed that the first PPRO, Mr. Jimo Moshood, has repeatedly engaged political actors in the field. In the case of Benue State, this same character, who is the police PPRO, said that a governor of a state was like a drowning man clutching at straws. For goodness sake, he said bloody ASP. And you are insulting a governor of a state. I'm not trying to defend what the governor is doing. Right. Now you have come on national TV for the whole world, and you have said that the Senate President of the Federal Republic should report within 48 hours. You are insulting the entire process. You are insulting the entire institutions. And these two people should leave the state, because we have thousands of policemen who keep to their duties, who are trying their very best to be good policemen.
But they could argue that they are just doing their job.
No.
He is the spokesperson of the police force.
Good. He is doing the job, and he's speaking for somebody who is doing the wrong things. He's speaking for an IGP who has repeatedly refused the investigation of summons to the National Assembly. We have to cleanse this process. Mr. President has really no choice. These two individuals must be removed from the police force. Otherwise, with them still there, the message is clear that this rot continues.
When the vice president meets with certain individuals, and then after he's met with the individual, says the police hierarchy releases a statement saying, let the president of the Senate put in a written statement his explanations on the link between this robbery suspect and him. Does it in any way bring some respect to the office of the president of the Senate?
It doesn't, because what I believe happened, the vice president, who is a professor of law, must have called what I call these guys, these men in the police in uniform, who are doing illegal acts. Look, there are better ways of doing this thing. Simple things. Do the right thing. And the right thing they have done is just what they're now doing later. Asking for a written statement. And then the Senate president, you can even go to him and call him privately and ask before you come out, believing you are coming to mess up the office of the president of the Senate. Now, nobody should mistake what is going on now, or what I'm saying, to be in defense of Mr. Lucian Saraki, because we know how these politicians are. But for goodness sake, we're talking of the institution of the office of the Senate President. You could be there tomorrow, I could be there tomorrow. So that is what we should be trying to protect in the country, not the individuals, for goodness sake.
All right, let's go over to our Port Harcourt studio and hear from Victoria Okpara. Now, Victoria, for a while now, we've heard that the opposition party has been persecuted. Now, within the APC, we have another party, the NPDP, and they've also accused the APC of being persecuted in certain things. Now, recall that the Senate President had earlier said that, that there was a plot hatched against him to rope him with a cultist. Do you think in any way that what the Senate President said earlier, before this incident, would it nullify or would nullify what is happening right now?
I really don't think so. What I want to say right from the onset is that nobody is above the law. The Senate President, the Constitution does not confer on him any immunity power. So if there's any crime purportedly to have been done or carried out or linked to him. I think the police do have investigative powers. The court have said it numerously and severally in so many decisions to carry out the work. I think basically what Nigerians are really quarreling or not too happy is the way they went about it. You know, if you look at face value, the press releases and the interviews and all the media, the section 35, I think, of the Constitution is quite clear. Every Nigerian is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. But in this climb where we are, well, police can just pick you up and just put you before the media. You've done this, you've done that, without thorough and actual investigation, without even going to the court, because it is only the law court that can declare that somebody is guilty after carrying a proper trial. But in our climes, they don't do that. And once you've done that, both the image and reputation of that person has been tarnished. In this case, if some people were caught, and in the course of the investigation, if any, or confessional statement or whatever, we know that most often what happens when the police get their confessional statement, that's why in most criminal matters we do have trial within trial to really find that, because once they purportedly have confessed, and when they come out, look, those confessional statements, purported confessionals, was done under duress. So I think if Senate President Dr. Saraki had done anything, the thing, like my colleague said, if not for what is going on right now, look, sir, Mr. Senate President, this is, we call so persons, they have made a statement linking that they know you. There's nothing wrong with Dr. Saraki knowing any person or person, just like all politicians, including President Buhari. He has, like as I said, he has people working for him. Those guys did not say that he gave them arms. Those guys did not say that he sent them to go and commit robbery. So why give the impression as if Dr. Saraki sent some people, because ordinarily in the minds of people that cannot decipher things properly, oh, he's linked to this robbery. He's not linked to it. He has nothing to do with it. It's just that one of the men caught says, I know him and I work for him, and there's nothing wrong. He's a politician. He has people doing his work. So, and it makes maybe Saraki to appreciate more what the oppositions are saying. Because some people will say, look, persecution, and if you look at what is going on, they are not far off the cuff. You find that if they want you, that's why, again, Nigerians talk about building institutions, not individuals. Because if somebody will act based on the whims and caprices of whoever appoints you, so if you perceive somebody to be an opponent of your boss or oga, or somebody who gave you your godfather, you find that you go after that person. You are no longer serving the Nigerian nation, Nigerian people. You are not serving an individual who shouldn't be. The quest for building this institution is very, very important. There are some instances like one of the founders of the TV stations, I don't want to mention the name, and they said he was listed as one of the corrupt persons in Nigeria without any trial, without going to court, without proper, and from what I read, they sent him to an embassy. It was when he went to the embassy, he discovered that he's been listed. It's not right, it's not fair. This is not what democracy should be about. This is clear vindictiveness. This is clear as if we are living under military dictatorship. It shouldn't be. We should do it. We have gone through so much in this nation. Nigerians are suffering, bearing the brunt of what is going on. And our leaders should serve. They are as I've always said, we put them there. Without our votes, Buhari will not be president of this nation. And he's there to serve the Nigerian people. And also those people, because you will survive the individual. Buhari might leave tomorrow, and another president might come in and will decide to retain this particular IG. But if you are perceived to be again, like you are a boy to Buhari, just like the individual, the man caught says, look, I work for this, and then definitely once a new person comes in, they will get you out because you are a boy to my predecessor. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that Nigeria as a nation, we are really in a trying time, and we should be very, very watchful of this democracy and we should take interest. I'm not a politician, but all of us must take interest in what is going on and even join the politics, because you sit by the fence, you lament, you complain, and at the end of the day, some individuals will get in and their policies do come in and they affect you and I. So I think we should all thank God for the fourth realm, being the media, what you're doing. Let the Nigerians see what is going on and take their decision and make up their mind. But what the Nigerian police is doing right now does not befit. It's a slight and it's a slap on because they've not done their job properly. It's like as if they have a personal score to settle, and that is how it's playing out in my view and in my opinion. All
right, Victoria Okpara, I put you on the pause briefly, and we get back to our Lagos studio, continue discussions with Eze Eluchie. Perceptions are very strong. If you will speak to members of the executive and you will speak to the National Assembly or even the Inspector General of Police, they tell you they have a fantastic working relationship one with the other. The work of the government will not be affected, and all of those lovely talk you hear when the cameras begin to roll and all of that. But the Deputy President of the Senate a couple of days ago, when was reacting to the signing into law of Not Too Young to Run bill, saying that he hopes that other bills brought before the President by the National Assembly will also be signed as quickly as possible. When you look at this interesting drama where you've had a peculiar situation where the Inspector General of Police has been asked to come before the National Assembly over and over again, and he's refused and simply just denigrated the National Assembly, and the executive not responded to any of the issues about the IG not appearing before the National Assembly, and all of that happened. A number of people have said that the inconclusive nature of this feud has fueled what is going on now, and say that it is possible that the 8th Senate, until it is over, may never have a working relationship with the Nigerian police, and by extension, even the executive later on. What's your thinking around this one?
Well, let me correct one impression. Let us not call it the Nigerian police. Because like I said earlier, we have thousands of police officers and men who leave their houses every day with the intent and mind to work, to put in their best in the institution they serve. So we should be able to separate the police force from one or two individuals who, for political reasons, have set out, maybe political, let me not just be IGP, for instance, who feels he owes the loyalty to Mr. President and not the institution, and goes about to act in ways that are clearly in contrast with the law. So it is not the issue of the police force. So let's correct that. We have a lot of policemen who are doing their best. But then the issue of the relationship between the National Assembly and the executive, it's not a matter of what they say. It is what we are seeing, what is being shown in public. And to some extent, I blame the National Assembly for what is going on. The culture and practice in the National Assembly of when the executive nominates somebody, you just say, take a bow and go. Take a bow and go. You don't ask questions. You don't interrogate the person who has been brought in. You don't ask your legislative aides to conduct investigations into the person's past to know if this person who is nominated is really worth it. Because if those basic background tests have been conducted, if adequate questions have been asked, we have seen that the current occupant of the post of IG has flaws which would have been exposed, and maybe would have given the mind that, okay,
what more do you think they could have done? Because they said, I remember the President of the Senate saying, this man, according to the resolution of the rich, is unfit to hold any public office and should not be held, they came to that conclusion that he should be out of government.
Yes.
But what else could they have done?
Now, that was the ideal, the best they could have done, and the President, if there was a good working relationship, should, based on the recommendations or resolution of the National Assembly, should have acted. But then again, the blame also goes to some extent to the National Assembly. Let me give you a critical example. The National Assembly on 3 occasions rejected the nomination of a man for the office of EFCC chairman, the Magu. You reject his nomination thrice, and Mr. President insists that this same man should be there as acting EFCC chair. And to my shock, I saw Mr. Senate President and the Speaker of the House going to visit this same man they had rejected on 3 occasions to inspect the house he will claim to have built as FCC headquarters. For goodness sake, you have taken a stand that this man is not qualified and you should not have any relationship with him. Talk less of going to inspect or visit the house or the building he claims to have constructed. So if the Senate and National Assembly had taken themselves seriously, they will abide by their resolution. Say, okay, we have given this resolution. If you do not comply with it, A, B, C will happen. But if you give resolutions and you relax, and you even renege on your resolutions, it models up the entire process. So it's not just blaming the executive, and then we see an executive which feels it can get away with whatever. It can rely on what, I don't know where it thinks it can rely on these powers, because this National Assembly are your party men. They are party members. And if you are in constant conflict with them, the elections are due. Unless there's a plan B that the executive, Mr. President, has. I don't know how he thinks he can continue to be at loggerheads with the majority of his party men who are in the National Assembly and still be thinking of coming back in office.
It seems like there is a power tussle between the executive and legislative, like we have established already. And we know that yesterday there was a joint session between the National Assembly, yes, where they passed a vote of no confidence. Now, does it look like the Nigeria Police Force, or maybe the IG and his spokesperson, do you think they are playing partisan politics with all of this?
I mean, I wouldn't call it partisan politics because they are in the same party. I mean, the Senate President and Mr. President are in the same party.
There is an NPDP in the APC.
No, I mean, NPDP is not a party. It's just one of those names they bandy about. But they are, so it's not partisan. But I'm thinking he's being too loyal to Mr. President and not to the institution of the presidency. So, I mean, the IGP is being too loyal to the person of Mr. President and feels, okay, you are my boss. Whoever comes around you or wants to go against you, I will take care of the issue. We remember the issue of Dino Malai. We also remember the case of Senator Shehu Sani in Kaduna State. Whoever voices out opposition against Mr. President automatically becomes the target of the police.
You know, you mentioned something. You mentioned that the Senate had, for 3 times said they wouldn't assent to the EFCC chairman.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of the IGP, they have said certain things about him before yesterday, and yesterday it passed a vote of no confidence. But before yesterday, we saw that the Senate President was going to meet the police to answer the various questions that they were going to ask him concerning this robbery incident in Kwara State. Now, do you think that this is the same thing that's going to play out continuously, where despite the fact they don't agree with the IGP, despite the fact they have passed a vote of no confidence on him, they will still owe allegiance to him somehow?
Now, what happened yesterday in National Assembly, that's the first time it ever happened in the annals of our history. When the Senate and the House of Reps come together, not to listen to the budget speech or in honor of a visiting head of state, but just to address specific national issues. It has never happened throughout the course of our democracy. So what it means is that we have a new thing. We have a new thing on board. If this joint session of the National Assembly came up with this resolution that they have lost confidence in the IGP, the only reasonable thing left for Mr. President, unless he's telling us that there's something unique or special in his relationship with this same IG, is to sack the IG of police. But this IG, for instance, is causing so much harm to the image of the police. Like I keep on telling you, we have friends, we have relatives who work in the police force, who are embarrassed by the ongoing situation. This was an IG of police who was catapulted to the rank of IG. Over 21 senior officers were removed. What was the linkage between him and Mr. President that was so special that he had to be made the IG? And we have seen the way he's acting, in total disobedience of even presidential orders. Mr. President had asked this same IG, to go to Benue for an operation. And Mr. President told Nigerians that he was just realizing that the IGP did not obey his orders. For goodness sake, who are we serving? What is look, if we don't address this issue, I see anarchy coming up. And we should be very, very careful because, like I keep on saying, the office of the IGP is a revered office. It symbolizes the Nigerian police, which, like I keep on saying, has thousands of officers and men who work diligently to protect Nigerians. But when you have an individual who is setting out not just to rubbish democratic institutions, because when he fails to respond to summons by the National Assembly, he has failed to respond to the summons by the senator representing my area, and by inference to me. Who is he serving, for goodness sake? He's serving Nigeria, not himself, or not the president.
All right, Mr. Lucci, we put you on the pause. Fantastic and interesting conversation we're having here. State of the nation, the police summoned the president of the Senate, and all that's been happening around. I mean, it's been very fluid. Victoria Okpara is our guest in Port Harcourt, legal practitioner. We'll cross over to Port Harcourt and get her view. You know the popular mantra or theme of the politics of inconvenience, we agree to disagree sort of thing. And then in line with Montesquieu's definition of what the separation of powers will be, a number of people will argue what is going on in the country today. It's a healthy war, one checking the other. Do you agree with that sort of thing? Are you concerned, or do you think it's been exaggerated, the conflict going on between the executive and the legislature, or it's something that you think it's normal?
I think any well-meaning Nigerian should be concerned about what is going on. Particularly, I mean, it's ironic that the House of Rep is APC, the Senate is APC, and this body executive and the National Assembly cannot work in synergy, because if there is a proper management or working of a situation with such a thing, I mean, Mr. Even the motions passed several or refusal of the IG not to honor the invitation. It's not a slap on Saraki or Dogara, but on the Nigerian nation, because it is, for me, an insult, a great insult on the nation for our National Assembly to invite, Senate to invite the IGP repeatedly. And the man will say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not coming. But just like as my colleague had said in the studio, if he can disobey the president, give an order, go to Benue State and sort things out, or see for yourself, be on the field, on ground, to see what is happening. And the IG refused to go, and he still maintained his seat and position as the IG. Then it is because in a normal working environment, private or otherwise, definitely he wouldn't be there. But again, we say, look, when two elephants suffer, it is the grass fights. It is the grass that suffers. Because when things are not working properly, when they are not working harmoniously, when everybody is going, particularly where they are supposed to be in the same pot, i.e. APC, in government, in both Rep and Senate, and they cannot seem to be working in synergy, then there are some fundamental issues. Although at times it is good, because our first priority and loyalty should be to the stateship called Nigeria, our country. So the fact that you are APC administration in government and APC does not necessarily mean that whatever Mr. President wants, Mr. President can get. That is where the checks and balances comes in handy, or do come in handy. But in this particular instance, if I thank God, I don't know the guy personally, my learned senior, who is also the vice president, because he's been trying his best. I respect him and I admire, because despite all the fire attempts you get, even in this part of the country, Nigeria, he goes around. He's been trying to use the word quench the fire, because he has seen that there's unnecessary overheating of the polity. It is not necessary. The IG is there at the beck and whims and caprices of the Mr. President, who appointed it. But his first priority and loyalty should be to the Nigerian nation, not to Mr. President. And if anything, God forbid, will not happen, should happen to the IG, and no, I'm sorry, to Mr. President and the Vice President. The next person is Dr. Saraki, and you should not, because if things were being done properly the way they should, look, like I said, I have made this point, look, sir, well, these guys have been caught, or they were caught, and in the course of our investigation, they made a statement alluding. So what's your take on it? It's not a big deal.
Okay. But
because, to use the Nigerian parlance, the bad blood is already there.
We'll
and
leave
you
it
feel
at that,
oh,
Victoria.
okay, I don't need to. Let me rub him. or rope him in. Let me get him and disgrace him. And by doing that, you're not disgracing Dr. Saraki, you are disgracing the Nigerian nation. And
all right, thank you very
Mr.
much,
President,
Victor Alpara. Thank you for your time with us on the program this morning. We'll take that as a parting statement on the program. Victor Alpara, a legal practitioner in our Port Harcourt studio. Thank you once again. And back to our Lagos studio, just
thank you for having me.
Now, during the closed-door meeting, one of what they said was that there was a threat to impeach the president if he refuses to sack the IGP. Do you think this wouldn't worsen the situation between the legislators and the executive?
I did not hear or read impeachment anywhere in the resolution.
It's on the papers?
No, I mean, the papers could write whatever, but I mean, the resolution that the Senate and the joint session passed was that they will use their legislative powers. And the state powers varies. I mean, there are several, it's a multiple of issues. So I didn't hear the word impeachment. But then if push comes to shove, what is wrong with impeaching a president who has refused to do the right things? But what I think that the Senate should be doing is, and the House of Reps, is to exercise more of their monetary powers, more of their powers over the budget, over the finances. Because if you say, okay, if continually you keep on refusing the joint resolution of the National Assembly, then how do you operate? But the Senate and the House has allowed the president to get away with odd situations before, like when he took some funds and claimed to have bought jets, which was clearly unconstitutional. And they allowed that to go. So, but they should be more proactive, they should be more responsible to their jobs and what the role they have to play to defend our democratic process. So I believe we should be entering a new phase now of more accountability. But like I keep on saying, we should be more worried with the trickle-down effect. Like one of the common things the police do when they arrest criminals is to scroll down their phones and know who they've been calling. I'm a lawyer. I get to call different kind of characters. Now, who says, okay, you see an armed robber's number that I've spoken with, or a criminal, and then you now say, okay, because you spoke with so-and-so person, or you shared beer in a beer parlor with so-and-so person, then you're also a criminal. That is what should worry us. The Senate president is lucky with his position. He has the media, he has us, people are clamoring and talking about it. But if somebody in one local community is arrested under similar conditions, you know what happens next? He's taken to a magistrate court and he's remanded in prison, custody, pending investigation and trial. And before you know it, we're talking of 10, 15 years in custody without trial. We have over 85% of the prison population in Nigeria is comprised of people who are awaiting trial. Right. So that is the rot, that is the trickle-down effect we should be worried about. Yes, sooner or later, this issue of the Senate President and the IGP will pass away. But we should be more concerned how it affects us. That is what I'm more worried about.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Eze Luche is a legal practitioner as well as a public affairs analyst. Always a pleasure speaking with him. Frank, blunt, and incisive statements. Thank you, sir, for it brings a wrap to our discussion on the Saraki and the police, but it's a fluid discussion. I know we'll continue to wing and branch into other areas, maybe for the end of the day. So for one fluid discussion, we'll go to another fluid discussion. We'll be talking about the war on corruption. And this time it will be a resolution, this time to the president, to do something about perceived paradoxes, which you want to call it, of the budget 2016, one of the most controversial budget processes we've had in this country, and what to do with that. So please stay with us. We'll be right back on STV News Hub.